What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another FPL video on the channel. And in today's one, we're going to be rating your wildcard teams for game week 4. So without further ado, let's waste no more time and let's get into it. Alright guys, so first things first, I do want to say a massive shout out to 0.Percy1 on TikTok, because this is the team that he did send me. So first things first, I do actually like parts of this team. I really do. But there's also other parts of it that I'm not a big fan of. And I'll be honest, I am no expert. So you guys don't have to listen to what I say. You guys already know this. I say this all the time. I'm just a guy that likes to talk about FPL. I am no expert, and I certainly do not claim to be one. So yeah, you could take what I say with a pinch of salt. But I'll still give my opinion, and I'll tell you what I personally don't like about it. And I'll say what the change that I would make. So first things first, for me, we know how good Liverpool have started off the season, and we know that their fixtures, especially in the next two, are absolutely fantastic. But with this team, there is no Mohamed Salah and there is no Trent Alexander-Arnold. In my opinion, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mohamed Salah are the two best possible Liverpool assets that you can own. And I think it's worth getting those two best assets in. I think it's worth getting Salah in. It's worth getting Trent Alexander-Arnold in. If you're wildcarding this week with their good fixtures, they've got Nottingham Forest at home in game week 4, Bournemouth at home in game week 5, and then Wolves away in game week 6, which is another good fixture. I just think you'd want to have Mohamed Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold in. I'll say this, Trent Alexander-Arnold is an FPL asset waiting to explode, in my opinion. He has been so unlucky to not get any attacking returns in the first 3 game weeks, and I genuinely believe a goal, not even just one, I think 1 or 2 goals and assists are coming. And when you combine that with clean sheets as well, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is in for some high scores, man. I really do. I can see him getting like 15 points, maybe even 17, 18 points in both of the games, to be honest, against Nottingham Forest and against Bournemouth at home. So yeah, I would definitely go to Trent. Now, in terms of how do you get to Trent, because that's sort of a question that you may ask, I think you've got a bit too much money invested in the bench. First things first, I'll say that I don't really agree with going for 2 starting goalkeepers, especially when one of them is David Raya. If you spent 5.5 on David Raya, there is no point spending money on a 4.5 goalkeeper, in my opinion. Especially with Sells. Like, Sells doesn't even rotate well with Raya, because in game week 4 when Raya's got Tottenham, Sells has Liverpool away. In game week 5 when Raya has Man City away, Sells has got Brighton away. So I don't think it's a good idea having Sells. He doesn't rotate well with Raya, and I just wouldn't spend 4.5 million on a backup goalkeeper. So for me, I would swap Sells for Fabianski. That's the first step I'd make. That would free up 0.5 million. And then I would also sell Onana. Yes, I know Onana has scored in 2 out of 3 games, but for me, his open play threat just simply isn't enough, and I wouldn't be spending that money on Onana, in my opinion. So I would get rid of Onana, and I would put in Harry Winks, or just any 4.5 million midfielder, and that would free up 0.6 million. So now we've got 1.1 million in the bank to spend, and I would upgrade Virgil van Dijk or Saliba. You could do Saliba, but for me, I would upgrade Virgil van Dijk to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Okay, so Virgil van Dijk to Trent Alexander-Arnold, that's complete, and that's the route that I would personally take to getting Trent Alexander-Arnold in the team. So what route would you take to getting someone like Mohamed Salah in? Well, this is what I personally would do. I'd start off by taking out GW4 for Rico Lewis. I'd take that risk on Rico Lewis. I really do think he's a good pick, man. I know Champions League is coming right around the corner. I know Kyle Walker's building up his fitness, but Rico Lewis has started the season off so strong, and his attacking threat is so high. So again, I think it's worth the risk, in my opinion. And I actually think when Rico Lewis plays, Gvardiol's attacking threat does go down massively. So I would look at putting Rico Lewis in, and that does free up some money, of course. That would free up 1.4 million. So then I would also downgrade William Saliba. That's another one I would downgrade to someone like Robinson, which again does free up another 1.4 million. So now you've got like 2.8 million in the bank. That would allow you to go to Mohamed Salah, right? That would give you enough funds to go to Mohamed Salah. And then what you could also do, the last change you could make, is actually with the remaining funds, you could go from Wout Faes to Lewis Dunk, who has some really nice fixtures. So that is an option there that you do have, but that's certainly the route I would take to getting in Mohamed Salah, in my opinion, guys. That's definitely what I would do. I think Mohamed Salah is so key. In terms of the rest of the squad, I actually do like it. Like the front three, I do like Haaland, I do like Havertz, and I do like Welbeck. I don't mind, because you've only got one Arsenal attacker, I don't mind it. I'm not a fan of 2, but 1 I don't mind, because it saves you a transfer down the line. I do understand that, you know, the next 2 fixtures aren't great, but to be honest, for an attacker, I don't think the Spurs game is that bad at all. Of course, Man City away is tough. I wouldn't be expecting any points from a Saka or from Kai Havertz in game week 5 against Man City. Arsenal typically don't really attack well against Manchester City when they do play against them. So I think Kai Havertz in game week 4 against Spurs isn't too bad, but in game week 5 is not the best. But I do understand it saves you a transfer down the line, because in game week 6, when he's got Leicester at home, in game week 7, and when he's got Southampton at home, and in game week 8, when he's got Bournemouth away, I do know you'd want Kai Havertz in your team. So it saves you a transfer down the line. So I'm not really against this pick at all. I think it's a really, really good pick to have. And of course, Danny Welbeck is a great pick in my opinion. Of course, he's at the risk of getting subbed off quite early at times, earlier than João Pedro. He does typically play the majority of the games, but you know, he doesn't play as many minutes as João Pedro. But I still think Danny Welbeck is a fantastic pick. Honestly, I think he's a great pick. So yeah, man, he could prove to do quite well, especially in the next 2 games, given the fact that Brighton do have Ipswich at home and Nottingham Forest at home. So yeah, there's sort of the changes I would make, though. Overall, I think your squad is actually pretty good. Again, it just needs a few tweaks in my opinion. So yeah, overall, I would give your team sort of a rating of 6.5 out of 10. Yeah, like I said, I think getting Trent in would be a good pick, and getting Mohamed Salah in would also be a good choice as well. So yeah, we are going to move on to the next team. Let me know what you guys think of this team down below in the comments. But without further ado, let's move on to team number 2. Alright guys, so on to team number 2. And this one was sent in by WHU_Jack1. So once again, thank you very much for sending in your team. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, all in all, I actually do think it's a pretty good squad. And I do like it a lot. I really, really do. But there is one slight concern in my opinion. And that is triple Arsenal. I don't know if it's worth going for triple Arsenal on a game week 4 wildcard. I'm going to be honest. I think the next 2 fixtures aren't sort of optimal for an FPL asset. Yes, I know Arsenal are one of the best teams in the league, but Spurs away and Man City away is not good enough fixtures to be putting 3 Arsenal players in. So I don't mind sort of like 1 Arsenal attacker, but I certainly wouldn't be doubling up on Arsenal attack, and I don't think I'd go for Saliba in defense as well. So in terms of some changes that I would make, this is personally what I would do with this team. So first things first, I would take out Havertz. Obviously, if you do take out Havertz and you just got him in, you take him out for 8.1 million, and I would get in Nicholas Jackson. So that would free up 0.5 million if you did buy Havertz for 8.1. If you bought Havertz for 8 million, then of course, unfortunately, that's 0.4 million you've got. But again, I'm not too sure. But nonetheless, that is the change I would make. And assuming that you did get Havertz in for 8 million, then that would mean you'd obviously sell him for 8 million, and therefore you'd only have 0.4 in the bank remaining. So with that being said, I would also downgrade Saliba to someone like Lewis Dunk, which does free up again another 1.5 million. Now, that does free up 1.5 million, and altogether, you've now got 1.9 million in the bank. Now, what I would do with that is actually upgrade someone like Adama Traore. Now, I know Adama Traore has, you know, got quite a few FPL returns in the first 3 games. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist, but I still would take him out because I believe Eberechi Eze at the price of 6.9 million is the better option, and you'd actually be able to make that move given the funds that you do have. So yeah, I do think going for Eberechi Eze is actually a good play, and they're the changes that I would make. I feel like you're likely to get more attacking returns from the likes of Nicholas Jackson, Eberechi Eze, instead of Kai Havertz and Adama Traore over the next 2 games. And I actually believe there's more of a chance that Brighton do get a clean sheet over Arsenal in the next 2 games. So that's why I've gone for Lewis Dunk as well over Saliba. So they're the changes that I would make. But overall, I do think the core and the base of your team is really, really good. I do like João Pedro. I do like Erling Haaland. I do like the Smith Rowe pick. I think the fixtures for Fulham are actually pretty good. Coming up, West Ham are really bad defensively in my opinion. Newcastle have started the season really poor. They don't look up to speed right now. So again, the next 2 are really good for Fulham and Smith Rowe, and then in game week 6 it's Nottingham Forest away as well. So I think Smith Rowe is not a bad pick. Saka, of course, I think he's a good pick. Like I said, I don't mind having 1 Arsenal attacker, especially Bukayo Saka as well, because we know that he does perform in the big games, and I do expect there to be goals in the North London derby, don't get me wrong, but like I said, it's if you're on a wild card, you know, I wouldn't be pitting 3 players, and I just think that's pretty crazy in my opinion. I don't mind Saka. He's a 90-minute man. He's on penalties and just overall a really good quality player. So I don't mind him in there. Rodgers, I do think the goals and assists will come. The fixtures for Aston Villa are really good. So again, I like him as a pick. And then the defense. Like I said, I would personally change out Saliba. But nonetheless, I think Robertson and Robinson are 2 very good picks. Of course, there is no Trent Alexander-Arnold, but what I will say is that if you don't think Trent is worth that 7 million, even though I disagree, Robertson at 6 million is still a very good option because he does have that attacking threat and also the clean sheet potential as well. So I think Robertson for 1 million cheaper is definitely not a bad shout at all. Like I said, again, I prefer Trent, but Robertson certainly isn't a bad shout. So yeah, all in all, your team is actually really good in my opinion. There's just a few tweaks that I would make to improve it in my opinion. So yeah, they're the changes that I would make. Let me know what you guys do think down below in the comments of this team though. As it is, looking at it right now, I actually think it's a pretty good team, but like I said, a few tweaks need to be made. But overall, I would give this team a solid 7.5 out of 10 because I do think the core and the base of this team is actually really strong. So yeah, I'd give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and let's move on to team number 3. All right, guys, so on to team number 3, and this one was sent in on Twitter by Mason. I just want to say a huge thank you, bro. I really do appreciate you sending me your team, and also a huge thank you to everyone in this video that did send me their FPL wildcard drafts. Guys, I just want to say this draft is absolutely fantastic and definitely one of the best drafts I've seen in my opinion. I really do like it, and I'll tell you what I love about it. I love the fact that he's able to put William Saliba and Mbeumo on the bench for their tough fixtures and still have a very good starting 11. The fact that he can bench Saliba in game weeks 4 and 5 and Mbeumo in game weeks 4 and 5 for their tough fixtures is absolutely fantastic. So they'll be ready to come in for game week 6 for their good fixture swing and for their good fixtures from game week 6 onwards. I absolutely think that's fantastic. The defense is fantastic. Of course, there is no Trent Alexander-Arnold, but you guys know my thoughts on Trent. He's absolutely fantastic, and I will say that Robertson is still a good pick. Although I think Trent is the better option, Robertson is still a fantastic pick in my opinion. So yeah, I would definitely go for I still think that's a fantastic defense, and I like the midfield as well. Now, there's not much for me to really do, if I'm totally honest. There isn't much for me to really do, but I'll still offer a suggestion. I'll still offer an alternative route that you could go with for this team. So first things first, I will say I would downgrade Alexander Isak. That might be controversial, I don't know, but what I will say is Isak still is a pretty decent pick given the fact that in game weeks 4 and 5 he's playing Wolves away and Fulham away. But I will say that Newcastle definitely don't look as good as they did last season. They've fallen off a cliff in my opinion. I've watched them a lot this season. I've watched all their games, and on the eye test, they haven't impressed me. They haven't looked good at all. So I would definitely consider downgrading Isak if I was to take anyone out this team, and I would then transfer in Nicholas Jackson. I do think for the next 2, Nicholas Jackson could be really decent. As I said already, Bournemouth away, West Ham away, 2 poor defenses he's up against in game week 4 and 5. I could see Chelsea scoring quite a few goals across those 2 games, which is why I think taking a punt on Jackson wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Again, you guys might disagree, and I've already said I'm no expert, guys. I'm no expert, but it's definitely a fun pick, and it's definitely a pick that could definitely work out in my opinion. Jackson has 2 goals in 3 games, and he typically does get a lot of chances created for him. So yeah, I think that could be a good pick. But if you were to downgrade Isak to Jackson, that would then free up 0.9 million. Now, you could also downgrade Rico Lewis to free up an extra 0.1 million to someone like Collins, who will have good fixtures from game week 6 onwards. That's something I would consider, and by doing that, you free up 0.1 million. And the reason why I'm saying to take out Rico Lewis, although he is quite a good pick, the reason why I'm saying to free up that 0.1 million is so you can then take out Saliba, and then you've got 1 million in the bank overall to get Trent Alexander-Arnold. So that's something that you could do. You could go for the double Liverpool defense, their 2 attacking wing backs in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, and go for the double Liverpool defense. And then you'd obviously have a back 3 of Trent, Robertson, and Lewis Dunk, a midfield 4 of you'd have a midfield 4 of Smith Rowe, Rodgers, Eze, Salah, and in the front 3 would be Jackson, Haaland, and João Pedro. So that's something that you could do. And I don't think it's a bad shout at all. Again, you don't have to do it. You don't have to follow what I say, because your team still is set up in a very, very strong and good way. But I do think the combination of Trent and Robertson is definitely better than Lewis and Robertson. So, and then I do think Jackson could outscore Isak. I really, really do. So it's a tough one, but again, it's something to consider. It's something to think about. And of course, you then have Collins on the bench up until game week 6. And then you could actually in game week 6 downgrade Trent back to Saliba, or you could take out Robertson for Saliba. So you've got the option there to downgrade back to the Arsenal defenders, and then free up some more money and then upgrade your attack if you didn't want to go with Jackson anymore. But I really do think that's something to consider. All in all, the team is absolutely fantastic. The team is absolutely fantastic, and I really, really do like it a lot. So I've not really got too much to say about this team because I think it's set up so well. But yeah, like I said, they're sort of the only few changes that I would consider making. But yeah, let me know what you guys do think of this team down below in the comments. And in terms of a rating I would give this team, man, I'd have to give this team a 9.5 out of 10. I like it a lot. I really, really do like it a lot. I think the rotations are fantastic. I think the whole team setup is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10. Really, really good team in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And I want to say again, a huge thank you to everyone that did send me their teams for today's video. Smash a like on the video if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you haven't already. And guys, I will catch you in the next video. But until then, I'm out. Peace.